Hello, Collective. My name is Maxine Simone. I'm here to share a timeless message with you. I want to thank you for being here with me and choosing to connect. And I hope that something in here resonates with you. If it doesn't, leave it. I feel like this collective is showing up as the wounded warrior. I just saw a notification come through about wounded warrior, working to stay present. And the cards that I have laid out are some oracle cards from the Wild Unknown deck. And the first thing that I heard was that you fought very hard to be able to reach this level of sensitivity where you can feel all of your feelings. You can feel the sweetness deeply, and it's something that you can cherish and that you can allow to nourish you, and you can be present in those moments. And then you've also fought and gone through lots of pain and had to feel that in order to confirmation, in order to be able to feel that sweetness. And I feel like where you may be at currently, you're realizing how powerful and important it is to be in presence. I feel like you may have found yourself going in some type of loop or repeating something, and maybe you have experienced these different phases while going through the loop again. Maybe bumping up against past judgments of yourself, then having to forgive yourself, and then having to feel those feelings, maybe bumping up against triggers that are bringing up fear from the past so that you can clear the cobwebs of the past. And I feel like it feels very quantum in a way. You're learning that through presence, through allowing yourself to feel all of these things, there is a deep knowing that the loop that you're going through isn't something to hold yourself against for, because you're approaching it in different ways. So it feels like you are trying to bring all of these parts of you that may have been fragmented from this loop in the past before online, so that you can come back as one, work together as one in the present moment to just, it's like healing your past to create your future, and you have to be all on board. And I feel like there's been a lot of emotional release, and you're learning that someone said that if it's, think Breathe, she's a really good reader. She said, if it's out of your control, it should be out of your heart and off your mind. And so I feel like you're learning the difference of when to trudge forward, and trudge may not be the correct word, but just like I'm picturing the Nine of Wands, like that wounded warrior, knowing when to push for something and knowing when to sit back and something is out of your control. And while that thing is out of your control, then that means it gives you time to process your emotions on your own. And I feel like you're coming home to yourself in some ways, but I feel like the looping aspect may have been a bit irritating. It feels a little bit irritating through the triggers, but also just irritating recognizing that you're in a similar position than you may have been in the past, but it's not the same. That's why I feel like Spirit is trying to get you to realize this, like it's not the same. You have to experience these similar things again so that you can choose to do something differently. And that doesn't mean, I think that it's also coming through, like not to slap a label on something that may be feeling familiar in a bad way. Say you're dealing with a person and you're like, this is making me feel like this past situation. This is bringing up the same thing. You may be quick to label it and say, I don't want to deal with this because of this past situation. I don't want to deal with it. I have learned that lesson. But I feel like with Gnosis kind of leading this forward, it feels like the heart is pushing you to not slap a label on something, to see something from a higher perspective, to zoom out of the loop and choose something different, but it's going to require emotional release. I'm pulling from my Mary Magdalene deck now. And yes, ascension, further up is further in. That's what I'm saying, the zoom out. And I also feel like there's a lot of ancestral support, because this isn't a loop that was only created on your own in this lifetime. It feels like you're moving emotions through the body that have lived in the body for a very long time. And so I feel like you have a lot of support in doing this. And I feel like what's coming through is that you may be someone that identifies as being very protected. Maybe not identifies, but you just know that. And aren't we all? There have been examples in the physical of how you are so divinely protected, and that you'll be removed from things that are not in your highest good, right? You can't even entertain it on your own for that long. And I feel like this is similar. These situations that may have been coming up, or this one particular one that may be resonating, may feel similar in that way. You're being removed from something at just the right time as you're releasing that control, right? Like when something is out of your control, you're really realizing that I can pull back and just return back to myself. You're learning that as well. But it feels, oh my gosh, I just lost it. Oh, you're wondering, why did I just repeat this loop if I already learned this lesson? Maybe you haven't fully learned the lesson, fully integrated the lesson, because you haven't forgiven yourself or chosen something differently when the situation presents itself again. Like integration. Yes, integration. Integration from an ascended perspective, if that makes sense. And so there may have been a little bit of irritation through that, because it's like, maybe you felt like you weren't being guided through this, or you weren't being protected in some way, or that maybe you were blaming yourself. I put myself in this situation, so now it's coming through. If I keep myself out of bullshit, then I allow spirit to protect me, type of thing, which I feel like there's truth in that. But I feel like that's where spirit is saying this wasn't bullshit. This is a loop that you needed to experience again and choose to make a different decision by your own free will and truly do the emotional release. And it actually is very helpful to your spirit team. It feels like going back to the ancestral thing, or emotions being stored within the body, like even doing the somatic work. It feels like very much free will is at play. And so you may be feeling like your spirit team has taken a step back in some ways, but then you're very aware that they're there. The messages aren't as loud, but I feel like you may be getting little signs. You'll see ladybugs or birds or something, but not maybe intense dreams where it's telling you what you need to know. I don't know how they communicate with you, but it just may feel like there's been a shift. And I do see true love all exists through love. So I feel like the ascension, the integration, is asking you to choose love in a way. Yes, judgment in the reverse on the bottom of the deck. The whole point is to be human, is what it says. And yes, I feel like there's just a lot of, I feel like you already feel like you learned a lesson. So there's judgment of yourself. But then there's the integration of the love, which helps you to expand and helps you to receive, and all of these things when you are more gracious and compassionate with yourself. And also when you're being witnessed, I think that you may be experiencing a loop with a particular partner or a relationship that may show up in friendships or intimate relationships or whatever. But it says true love exists, all exists through love, and it shows Mary Magdalene and Yeshua together. And then it says the cross, I am anchored in love. So you ground this, you integrate this lesson through love, not through judgment, not through separation, not through judging yourself for repeating something, not for having to revisit a trigger, because the trigger reveals the fear that keeps that emotion, that energy stagnant within the body and within your energetic field. So there's a lot happening, and I feel like there's a rebirth happening through love, it feels. And I feel like, yeah, there's a need to give yourself grace. I just cut the deck to the Chariot, so there is a way forward. And I think that also with the Chariot, there's that light and dark horse type of thing, but the warrior, wounded warrior, is the one that is manning the Chariot, that's getting the shadow and the light, and my full body is getting chills. You're stepping into this integration of the shadow and your light aspects, and you're being able to bring everything online at once so that you can choose free will where you want to go, and not from this place of being controlled by the shadow, controlled by the ego. But also, yes, I see seeds are being planted with intimate relationships. And there's also a rebalancing. Sorry, I just saw some tarot fall out. Rebalancing. It feels like y'all's shadows, what's coming through is at one point, maybe y'all shadows were dancing. They're getting along. And then they started to trigger one another. And through that, you've been able to pull back to come back home to yourself and realize what shadow work you needed to do. And I feel like there's a reprioritize the relationship with self, and then not prioritizing outside influences. It feels like there could have been third-party influences that may have acted as a trigger between you and an intimate relationship, but seeds were planted, it feels, in this dynamic in some way. And I feel like maybe even those triggers of the outside influences, maybe those friends or however that was showing up for you, represented maybe this third party energy that could have existed within you. Not saying that there was actual third parties involved, or maybe there was, but it just feels like everything was in divine order to agitate something in the perfect way so that you're not feeling split, if that makes sense. Because again, that chariot has the warrior, it has the shadow, and it has the light. There's three, but they need to be on board. And it feels like now, instead of three being an outside influence, you and your partner, now it's like your higher self and you and your partner. Does that make sense? And the higher self, it feels like a joint. There's an integration of how y'all work on a higher level, on an ascended level. So it's like coming together. Yes, the devil in reverse. You guys are breaking a very deep cycle. The devil in reverse landed on this Anima Mundi card, which shows this karmic loop. It looks like an astrological chart to me. Has a lot of the symbols and sigils, but also it just kind of gives Saturn in a way. And the devil does relate to Saturn energy, but it's in reverse. And so there was a loop that was keeping you both stuck. And I feel this is very successful. Like there's a transition that's happening. Yeah, we have the Page of Wands now, a message of good news. I feel like you may be getting your spark back after maybe feeling irritated, triggered. You're like learning how to use these triggers to break loops within connection, not just to break away from a connection or to break away from, like I said, the thought pattern feels like I already learned this lesson, so you may have had to leave. A wounded warrior type of thing. I have to go. I have to continue on by myself. But I feel like there's so much sweetness. There's so much love. There's so much depth. And there's such a deep heart knowing. There's like a reaching for love within this connection that I feel like is mutual. And so I feel like it has encouraged you to take a different approach, which is actually very healing. Yes, we have the Ace of Swords. So it's like, I feel like there's a breakthrough that will be happening. I feel like there will be more sweetness coming up, more excitement, but it's a new flirty energy, but there's more trust there. It's not just based off of, I think the doubt may have creeped in of, is this lust? Is this limerence? Is this a past pattern? Is this person actually for me? And then we have the Ace of Cups and the Page of Pentacles. And so that is very beautiful. I feel like there's new beginnings in love, but from a place of truth, from a higher perspective, again, a breakthrough. But also I feel like this love is just permeating. It's consistent. And I feel like that's why I'm saying what was once maybe potential with the Ace of Pentacles, it's like I can really see the potential of this. It feels like now, through some grounding of the relationship, through triggering, through conflict, through seeing how things are when things get real, it feels like with the Page of Pentacles, the seed is planted, and with the love, it can be watered. And now I'm seeing the King of Cups, and I feel like there is a level of emotional maturity that maybe someone is teaching you, or that you are embodying yourself. Maybe both parties are learning about this King of Cups energy, where there is a deep understanding of the emotions, a willingness to go deep and to hold space for many deep things, maybe even some shadow things, but to remain emotionally okay, be able to rock with the ebbs and the flows. And then we have the Fool energy. So this is like a new beginning in love where there's more depth, there's more trust, there's more empathy. And we have the Queen of Swords. Interesting. Okay, and the Ten of Pentacles. I feel like, so how the relationship may be adjusting right now. Oh, and we have the Queen of Cups. I love that. I love that on the bottom of the deck. How we may be adjusting moving forward in the relationship. It looks like there's a person, maybe a masculine, that's willing to hold space for a lot of emotion. And I feel like they're inviting you to do the same, maybe even to explore silence when things are too emotionally turbulent because you don't want to be. Oh, and the Queen of Swords in reverse, this is upright, but I'm just saying you want to be pointed with your words, but not harsh. You want to understand what you need and create the correct boundaries. You want to be able to communicate those things correctly. But with the Ten of Pentacles, it's telling me that there's from the Page of Pentacles to the Ten of Pentacles, there's a whole journey that has to be gone through, but it exists through this dynamic where I feel like you're able to balance your emotions with the Queen of Cups on the bottom of the deck and care for yourself. You can pull back and nurture yourself and care for yourself. Make sure that your cup is full before you communicate. I think that's a big thing. And then you can come back with clear communication. You understand what your hard no's are, what your strong yeses are, and this person is able to receive that. It's like a new beginning in love and how a better foundation could be built. Yes, we have the World in reverse now, and then the Star. So this wouldn't be able to be accomplished, it feels, if the loop continued. And I feel like the heart is doing a lot of things right now in the way that it's really pointing you towards a North Star. And I feel like with the World in reverse, it's really important not to allow too many outside influences within this connection, because I do feel like it's not to say that the triggers aren't helpful. Obviously they are. We went through this whole thing on as to how they are helpful to this connection, but to allow it to play a main character, like another entity in the relationship, I feel like it could leave open these potential loops for misunderstanding. And I feel like with the Star here, it's giving you a North Star. Like, this is how you could potentially deal with these situations if they arise in the future, if loops do appear. But I also feel like it's important to acknowledge that this is like a very intimate relationship. You may have even had moments, like intimate moments with this person where you're sharing deep things, like under the stars or something like that. It feels like that. And so it's like you and this person against the world, not the world against or coming in between you. And yes, because we have the Knight of Pentacles. This is, again, if the goal is the Ten of Pentacles, to have a loving, structured, legacy centered family dynamic with this person, or that's the goal for your relationship, where you want to generate money together, you want to generate wealth, you want to, again, you against the world, like this is becoming an entity of you both together. You guys are merging in some ways, but in the physical, we have the Knight of Pentacles. This is a long journey. This is something that you need to be committed to, consistent with. And when I say that, we have the Nine of Cups and the Hierophant, and that makes me feel so good, because I feel like there's a mutual understanding of this is a true commitment. This is what this looks like. This means that we can take space. We can communicate clearly. We can de-escalate. We can come back to ourselves, remind ourselves, even in our moments when we're alone, the heart permeates so strongly for this other person. It's like you guys, again, are merging, that this is something that you guys truly do want. There's something that's very felt, very telepathic about the connection with the Page of Cups on the bottom of the deck. And we have the Six of Cups as a soulmate. This is what you've been desiring. This is what you've been looking for. And I feel like going from the beginning, where we have all these triggers, there were things that maybe you didn't want to look at about the past, but they needed to be excavated, it feels like. And it put you at both parties, it feels like it puts you at a crossroads where you get to repeat the same thing or not. And I feel like this person showing up as the King of Cups is also teaching you about grace, is teaching you about forgiveness, is teaching you about it's okay to be human. This person is accepting you. I didn't finish the movie because it wasn't my favorite, but I was watching The Bride. It was yesterday. It wasn't what I expected, but that's okay. The overall theme was Frankenstein was experiencing deep loneliness. He called it agony when the doctor was saying, oh, so you just want a partner to have sex with, essentially? And he was like, no, the loneliness that I feel is like agony. Hopefully you can't hear the lawnmower. The gardeners there, but whatever. And I feel like he was wanting a partner, like a bride, obviously, but like someone to build something with, for real. And I feel like they had a moment, the doctor was saying, what if we bring someone to life and they're completely, what if they're villainous or whatever? We don't know how this person's going to be, what their personality will be. We don't know. Do you want to like a build a bear type of situation? Do you want her to look a certain way? He was like, no, however she is, I will love her because she is mine. She is built for me. And this is what this feels like. It feels like with the Queen of Wands and the Three of Wands, you are perfectly crafted for this person. You magnetize this person. There's a magnetism about you. There's a fire within you that they resonate with. And it's through your higher self, not through these lower, not to say that they can't accept your lower, because they can. And I feel like you have to be willing to accept your own lower primal nature. And I feel like that is more so why this person is showing up in the King of Cups energy, where they have this depth and they can see all of these parts of you. But you, going back and reviewing this loop, may have left open spots for things to not be fully felt and looked at because you judged yourself for making those decisions in the first place, which held on to shame, which then made you want to run away from certain things, not look at them. This relationship is not only allowing you to experience the triggers in an environment that is safe, but is teaching you that it is okay for you to make mistakes. And it's okay for you to process them, and it's okay for you to ask for assistance in processing them, to ask for what you need. So, a very healthy dynamic, it looks like. Very healthy, very much approved. You know, we have the Four of Pentacles and the Five of Cups. Yes, the Spirit is saying that you've been holding on to, yes, the Eight of Swords, golly, and the Six of Pentacles in reverse. You've been holding back so much. I feel like you have the capacity to love so deeply, so deeply. So much so that I feel like you may even lose yourself in another person, and not to romanticize that, but I feel like that is one of the fears, is that you don't want to give so much that you give, you lose yourself, and then you're not chosen. That's what it feels like with the Five of Cups and the Four of Pentacles, holding back. And so there's been an emotional block around the grief and maybe those past decisions where you felt like you really opened yourself up and that wasn't reciprocated, or that you didn't feel chosen, or however that showed up for you. But it feels like with the Six of Pentacles in reverse, Spirit is saying that there's not that Four of Pentacles and the Six of Pentacles, that is the 10 Pentacles. What both parties could be holding back is actually what is going to build the 10 of Pentacles. And the anxiety, Spirit is saying you have to be strong in this, strong in the way of choosing to do something different. Strength can look like vulnerability sometimes. Strength can look like being courageous enough to be vulnerable in a situation where you don't know fully if it's safe to be. But I feel like we have the Judgment card and the Three of Pentacles and the Death card now. There's double that death energy, that rebirth energy, a big transformation. That's why I was saying it feels like a reorganization and reprioritizing of relationships, meaning it's you first, and then meaning your cup needs to be full, you need to feel stable, you need to feel grounded, you need to know what your needs are, and then the relationship and being able to communicate that, and then the outside world. And so it feels like there's this reorganization of relationships because, interesting, we have the Queen of Pentacles, the Eight of Wands, and the Ten of Swords. I feel like this is just needing to be communicated, maybe from a place, communicating maybe what you've been through, doing the deep excavation work of yourself, giving yourself the grace, giving yourself the forgiveness, that, and knowing that this person is not going anywhere. They're going to hold space for you. But really looking at the wounds, but not communicating from a wound or communicating when you're triggered, but coming back and communicating about what you have been through so that you're communicating from a healed place, but there's understanding. There's more understanding. It feels like the Tower, the Four of Cups, the Lovers, and the Empress. I actually love this Tower because it feels like you will be getting a surge of energy. It feels like this relationship will be becoming revitalized as you allow yourself to be vulnerable. I feel like you may not have realized how much energy you had been spending holding on to those emotions, those unresolved things in your field, and how much it may have been tricking you. It feels like trickster energy in a way, where you may have found yourself fighting and arguing, not maybe with this person, but in past scenarios, or even fighting and arguing with yourself, and it just expended so much energy. And I feel like as you come into a place of relaxation where you understand how this dynamic works and how it can go with this person, it is really going to calm your nervous system so much. And I feel like you're going to start, there's going to be like this glow up that happens, because I see the Queen of Wands now and the Five of Pentacles in reverse. It's like you're going to regain so much energy, and I feel like you're going to be able to close loops energetically, again calling your power and your energy back, but also just your nervous system is going to feel so much more regulated. With the Lovers and the Empress, you're going to choose regulation, you're going to choose safety with this person. And so yes, we have the Nine of Swords and the Temperance. It is going to help you to alchemize, to really put it to rest all of the anxiety about the relationship, about where you stand with another person, because Seven of Pentacles, you guys are building a foundation together. And so I feel like you're going to be able to see that this person is willing to put the work in, especially emotionally. I feel like there is a transition from other types of relationships where maybe there was a lot of fire, there was a lot of pentacles, maybe even exchange of things, but there wasn't the emotional safety. Your nervous system didn't feel safe. You didn't feel like you could communicate about things. You didn't feel like you could take the space that you needed. You didn't feel like, so now it feels like the mental block will be getting cleared. And then it feels like it's going to be a very more passionate chapter of y'all's relationship, because there's more emotional intimacy. And I feel like with the Hermit and the Two of Wands and the Sun, there may have been a period of time where you needed to be by yourself. And I think that was helping you to, maybe that's where you're at currently. And this is like what's forecasted essentially through this process. And so maybe this message is coming through so that you can rest your mind, bring you peace of mind, that everything is being transformed right now through you realizing that it's safe to explore these things on your own, discover what it is that you need, and communicate that effectively. And to know that this person is still very much magnetized and attracted to you, especially when you're taking care of yourself. It's not that it would be a burden for them to take care of you, but that is the whole thing with the King and Queen of Cups. Both of their cups are full. And so Five of Pentacles in reverse, this is about getting past that scarcity mindset where you're interpreting on the surface, again, looking outside of yourself, that, oh, we're separated right now. And so you feel abandoned, or you feel left out, or you feel like they don't care, or it's really reversing it and really tuning into the heart, really tuning into how you feel, really remembering the essence of the connection, and giving yourself what you need so that you can show up for your partner in your fullest way, in your best way. Especially this Queen of Wands, being present with your emotions, even present with the dark emotions. And I think that you being in this energy, you're able to offer that to this person, this King of Cups, that it also has their emotions run deep as well. So they may need someone to be able to look at those things and not be afraid of the monsters under the sea, essentially. And so if you're able to do that for yourself, then it also shows them that it's safe for them to show you things about themselves. So yes, I feel like this is a good transition from the energy of scarcity or the energy of lack or the energy of control, and shifting your perspective to where you can get all parts of you on board, both of you guys on board in the relationship. And it's more about how it feels, not what it looks like on the surface. I hope that this helps. I feel like this should give so much peace of mind. It definitely helped me. If you're interested in a personal reading, all you have to do is check out the link in the description box below. I do have free readings right now for new clients just to get the ball rolling. Otherwise, I look forward to connecting with you again soon.